some folks here who are here in support by Zoom. We have your sister, Miss Patricia. She's going to speak on your behalf at the appropriate time. And your brother, Benny Stoops, is also observing and is here in support. So, Mr. Stoops, you are Romalis Stoops. Your DOC number is 121468. You've submitted an application for clemency seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in 1986 for 2 counts of malfeasance in office. You received, 18 months on each count to run concurrently. You were sentenced in 1988 to a life sentence for aggravated rape conviction. Mr. Stoops, is that information correct?
Will be only 1 count of malfeasance.
It's 2 counts in our record. Yeah, it occurred at the same time, but it is 2 counts. We'll go over that in just a moment.
Mr. Stoops, my name is Tony Marabella. Good afternoon. Your case was assigned to me, so I'll begin the interview process, okay? How old are you, Mr. Stoops?
7 years old.
How long have you been in prison?
Just under 35 years. About 2 months.
Let's talk a little bit about your education. How far did you go in school?
Graduated high school, had a couple of years of college through the police department.
Okay. And when did you start the police department? How old were you?
1973.
Started in 73. So how old would you have been then? 21, 22, something like that?
21.
21 years old? How long were you a police officer?
Approximately 13 years.
Now, when you indicated that it was 1 malfeasance charge, but it was actually 2 separate counts. You pled guilty at the same time to both of them, and your time was run together. Given probation, and then it got revoked. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Now, did that result in your being dismissed from the police department?
Yes.
So when you pled guilty, you were dismissed from the police department?
I was dismissed upon that arrest and the charge itself.
Upon the arrest, okay. Now let's talk a little bit about those 2 offenses. It's my understanding that you pled basically an offer type plea. You pled, you said I didn't do it, but I'm going to take my lumps. Is that basically what you did?
Basically, yes.
So tell me what happened. Why did you get accused of this? Let's talk about the first one. The first one involved, as I understand it, y'all were in a restaurant at Wendy's. Somebody was saying something you didn't like. The next thing you know, you and 2 other officers pulled them over, and one of them didn't have the guy didn't have a driver's license, and y'all were bringing him, you were going to arrest him, put him in the car. He says he got tased. Tell me what happened. Tell me why that isn't so.
We were in a restaurant at Wendy's on Reed Road out in New Orleans East. We were already there eating. And these people, whoever they were, they came in and seated in the restaurant. Well, while we're sitting at the table talking, and the guy started acting out. He didn't only say anything. He was talking a while and got up, gesturing as if he was going to do something. I don't know, like fight or whatever. And we looked over at him and played it off. And people pulling at him, people at his table pulling at him, telling him sit down or whatever, cut it out, blah, blah, blah. And I mentioned to my partner, I said, what's up with this guy? Let's hurry, you get out of here. Well, they left before us. Little did we know, because traffic is usually kind of heavy in that area. When we left out, they were just getting out the driveway. When they pull out, we had an opening, we pull out. We're about a car or 2 behind them, and he gets out of the car, he hits the traffic while we're waiting at a light. Gets out of the car, and he's gesturing, and there people pulling him back, and all, he gets back in the car. That continued until we got up to the I-10. We going to go westbound. We moved over to the lane to go westbound. He had moved over to left, and the same lane. He's continuously looking back as if there was something about us that's bothering him, whatever. We pulled him over on the shoulder of the road, tried to talk to him. And finally, he had no driver's license. And he says, you're always bothering people or this and harassing family use. I said, man, we're not even arrested. We're detectives, protecting you. I tried to get the 7th District to come over, the uniform team to come over. They were tied up. Same guy said he didn't have a license. I said, well, look. And he was getting kind of rambunctious. I'll do this, I'll do that. Let's put him in the cuffs on the top. Break down foolishness. There was like 3 or 4 women that was with him. I said, anybody had a driver's license who can drive this car? The lady said, yeah, I do. I'm about to give her the keys. She said, but they're at home. I can't give this car key to drive a car. You don't have a license. Anyway, we said, let's get somebody over there. Can you go to that phone over there? We'll get somebody.
Well, tell me about the tasing. It's my understanding you denied ever tasing the guy. Did you tase him?
I did not.
Who tased?
Nobody. He said.
How do you account for the fact that he went to the hospital and the hospital records indicate that he had burn marks just like a tase?
What happened was he said that he got tased. When he got to the lockup, he was asked, are you sick, ill, injured, whatever, like he always do? He said no. It wasn't until much later on I found out that they told me he went to the hospital and complained about being tased. The information he gave to the officers, that the ID people, whoever it was, said that his explanation was, I'm sitting directly in front of him.
All right, well, let's talk about the other incident.
Okay.
Second incident of the tasing at the club. There was a guy who came in without paying. You remember that? No? Yes? There were 2 incidents of malfeasance. Second instance of malfeasance was you were at a club, someone came into a club without paying the admission, and he alleged you tased him, and you pled guilty to both of those charges. So none of that happened? What happened on the second time? Those are 2 separate things.
I don't remember that one. I remember one incident at the club, and I don't know if, I think he went to internal affairs, but he was in there because he didn't pay. He got mad because we were serving free red beans and they had no more.
Mr. Stoops, you pled guilty to 2 separate counts of malfeasance. You pled at the same time, and your sentence ran concurrent. But you pled to 2 different instances that you tell me are lies, okay?
No.
Now, whoa. Let me finish. We're now going to get to what I consider the real issue here. You are also convicted of rape. You deny that.
Yes.
So tell me about that. Tell me it is alleged, and you were convicted of aggravated rape of your daughter. It's also alleged that you molested your son, and it's also alleged that you attempted to rape your wife's little sister. You deny all of those things. So tell me about that. I'm very concerned about letting a convicted sex offender out on the streets who denies that he's done anything when we have ample evidence in the record to show that you did. So tell me what you did.
Those incidents, when I was at home, I'm trying to get to work. It was my week to keep the kids. I had them
Mr.
over.
Stoops, did you commit these crimes or not? You telling me no?
I did not commit those crimes. They were all.
Yet you were convicted by a jury of aggravated rape. Am I right?
Based upon what my daughter said.
Okay. And you know, we have a letter. Your son supports you. He supports your getting out because he loves you and he's forgiven you. He has never said he didn't do me anything. He said, I forgive him for what he did. Now you're telling me that you didn't do anything, but you're asking me to let you out. And I'm very concerned about letting out a person who's been convicted of a sex offense who, number one, denies anything about that. There are 3 separate occasions, ample evidence in the record to show that you've done it, and then you're denying these other 2 malfeasance charges. Again, I'm not so much concerned about those malfeasance charges, but I'm seeing a pattern of you're just refusing to accept the consequences of what you've done. So tell me why I'm wrong about that.
All the time period with this supposed to be rape and all that happened, I wasn't even home. They put it on a Saturday night when my oldest girl, they said, and my son went to a slumber party. When it was the other way around, it was the youngest girl and the girl over her that went to the slumber party. And it didn't happen because my youngest daughter, who's supposed to be the victim of rape, was the one that lied, and it was not a slumber party. The neighbor came and told me. I said, well, let me get
So
home.
your youngest daughter lied. Now, did your wife lie when she said you tried to rape her little sister and you told her you were drunk when you did it? Now tell me about that offense. That didn't happen either?
That offense, I don't know where that come out of the blue because of the fact that that same person that they claimed that I was
Let me stop you. So you deny ever getting in the bed with your sister, your wife's younger sister, drunk. You're saying that never happened. That's a lie.
I don't remember that. What I remember is being
Well, what do you mean you don't remember it? Did it happen?
I don't think it happened. Because if that were the truth, we went to their house in Miami and stayed overnight. My wife left me and my kids.
Stoops, I'm not going to sit here and retry everything with you. I'm just trying to find out if I'm willing to take a risk on you being on the streets. That's what I'm here to figure out. So your son was lying too back then, even though today he supports you getting out, but forgives you for what you did. He lied back then too.
I don't know what the forgiveness part is. He told me out of his own mouth, he says, I don't blame you for leaving, Dad. I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for thinking otherwise. And I'm like, well, I didn't make this up. I didn't never leave. I was always available. My wife took the kids away from me while I didn't see them. I would spend more time away from my family and my children than I spent at home. Everybody who knew me knew that I worked strange and long hours. Very rarely home.
Mr. Stoops, tell me what you learned. You took all 4 phases of sex offender treatment, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Tell me what you learned in sex offender treatment.
Well, there's a lot to learn in it, and that is you can have relapses.
Tell me what you learned that affects you personally. What about the sex offender program that you took that has helped you be a better person since you've been in? Give me some things that you learned in that program that's going to make you a better man and make me less worried about you doing something like this again.
Or I'll never do anything because of the fact that I'm a person who, when combined in a situation of any kind, I'm more or less become an introvert. I don't argue. I don't like to fuss and to fight with people. I'm not going to get involved in situations.
To answer my question about what you learned in the sex offender treatment program?
Yes.
Tell me.
My answer is that you can learn a lot of things. And for instance, if you overplay on your emotions and your feelings, if you have something about you that draws you to people of the opposite sex or whatever the case may be, you can control all that stuff, man. I've been in prison 35 years. I don't even entertain that. You know, when other people are watching shows on TV that has some kind of rating to it, I'm not interested in that. I like votes and I like things of that nature. But when you look at people that
he's a creep.
do things like that, I've experienced that with dealing with people on the street. Folks say, well, he has a lot of split magazines. That guy may not be a sex offender, but he has some proclivities to do something that he shouldn't be doing. I don't collect any of that stuff. I've learned that, you know, if you stay away from all of that, not entertain that. It's like smoking and drinking. I don't smoke, I don't drink.
Have you ever drank?
I've had a drink in the past, many, many years ago.
How about drugs?
I don't remember.
You ever done
Yes,
drugs?
against drugs. Once or twice in my life.
How about you drinking? You said you drank years ago. You've been in prison for many, many years. Were you
Yes.
drinking back then when all of these things you were accused of doing?
No.
Your wife
I wonder-
suggests at some point. Your wife suggests at some point when you got in bed, when she says you got in bed with your sister-in-law, you were drunk. Is that true?
I can't say that's true or not, because I don't know what she
Oh, were
invented.
you drinking a lot back then?
No. My wife and I were going through some serious problems with the divorce. And more stuff was coming out of the woodwork than I knew about. I was accused of doing things when I wasn't even in town.
Mr. Stoops, you took Thinking for a Change. What did you learn in Thinking for a Change? You've taken some excellent programs. You've taken
Yes.
Thinking for a Change, Cage Your Rage. You've taken many faith-based programs. You belong to a number of clubs. Can you still hear me? You kind of went away on our screen over here.
I can hear
Can you
you.
hear me? Can you still see me?
I can
Okay. So tell me what some of the programs, what you believe to be some of the best programs that you've taken.
Alternatives to violence was what's kind of like based on a course that I took with the FBI called Crisis Intervention. Take into consideration what my sister has said, which is true. I think in my past I've overworked and maybe not given enough attention to the personal things. I took things for granted that everything was okay when it wasn't. I don't know. I protect the guys I work with when situations happen. There too, maybe I was wrong for that. You know, just like I do here with guys that's in the unit with me, when things come up, I try my best to stop situations or to do something opposite that, whereas no one gets right up, no one gets locked up, no one gets hurt, there's no fights. And I don't know, it's like let me hit them against the wall. But I'm not going to stop trying that. I'm trying to stop things that can go south. So I appreciate what the board can do for me.
I think we're ready to vote. We'll start with Mr. Marabella. Yes, sir.
Before y'all vote, can I say one other thing? I was hoping Ramallis would bring it up, but he didn't. You know, he's been here 34 years, and he's gone through the normal aging process. He's not a young man anymore. He's 70 years old, and he's got some health issues and quite a few mobility issues that he may want to touch on those. He may not, but I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention.
Looking all mean for it, fam.
70-year-old individual that's confined to a wheelchair most of the day. He's got very limited mobility issues, and I just wanted to bring that up. I thought Stoops would bring it up, but he didn't, so I just wanted to make you all aware of that before you go.
Thank you, Ward. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Stoops, your case may be one of the most difficult cases I've had to decide. I've been on this board. Done a lot of positive things in your life. You're a policeman. You're a Marine Corps veteran. You've taken a lot of good programs while you've been in prison. The warden has spoken as highly of you as I've heard him speak of anyone else. You've taken a lot of excellent programs. You're classified as a low risk. All of those things are very positive, and very much in your favor. Mr. Stoops, when I took this job, I took an oath to try to do what I thought was the right thing to do. And I'm going to tell you, I've got some real issues here. Because, as I told you earlier, malfeasance charges aren't that big a deal to me, except that you continue to deny them. Mm-hmm. I believe they occurred, you pled guilty to them. But yet you still say they didn't happen. You deny doing anything sexually with your daughter, yet a judge found you guilty, listening to all of the evidence, found you guilty of aggravated rape. Your son has forgiven you for what you've done. You know, I was expecting you to say, I don't have a problem with your continuing to claim your innocence, even if you go to trial. But you pled guilty to the malfeasance charges. I was hoping that you would say at least to your young daughter, she was a victim. Maybe I didn't do what I said I did, they say I did, but her mother victimized her. I feel sorry for her. She must have had a horrible life as a result, but you didn't say any of those things. And that bothers me, and that very much concerns me, and I have a real problem. I really do. There are so many things on paper that say I should vote perhaps to grant your pardon. But there are other sides that I say I have a real problem based upon the type of offense this is, based upon your interview today and your discussions here today, in spite of all of you. My vote today is going to be for denial. Good luck to you. I'm just one vote.
Thank you, Mr. Novella. Mr. Freeman?
I also listened very closely to what Warden Gooden had to say, and I put a lot of stock in what he had to say about the individual. And what your sister said is true. When you caught between a rock and a hard place, change now and start saying, you know, hey, I did do it, and you didn't. I mean, how you gonna live with yourself on that side? So my vote today is to grant your commutation sentence to 99 years with immediate parole eligibility.
Mr. Freeman? Mrs. Jackson?
Hi. Mr. Stutz, I also struggled quite a bit with this case as I was reviewing it on paper. And I will say your interview left a lot to be desired. But you do have a good institutional record. You only have 6 disciplinary reports in 35 years. You have positive remarks from the staff, and you have a low static 99 score, which assesses risk for sex offenses. Because of those reasons, my vote today would be to grant a commutation, or recommend a commutation to 99 years with continued parole eligibility. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Mr. Roche?
This is Stu. I've listened very intently. I read the scenario, the arrest reports, and malfeasance to office, the sex offenses. This is not 1 or 2 or 3. This is multiple charges, and you say that you are innocent of all charges. Mm-hmm. And you may be. I respect and hold Warden Goodwin's remarks in high esteem. But today, you didn't do exactly what Warden Goodwin said you usually do. You're honest, you have a good disciplinary record, you tell the complete truth all the time. Today, you had a very terrible interview. Mm-hmm. You were argumentative.
You didn't man up.
You didn't answer the question posed to you by Bell. I'm struggling, but when someone refuses to answer questions that's posed to him, and we have law enforcement opposition, and you are very argumentative today, it leads me to believe that you are hiding something
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't want to reveal that information at this interview. And I have the same opinion that Mr. Marabella had, that some of this, or some of these allegations hold some truth, and you don't want to let go of that truth.
And admit to what
So
your
based on
mistakes.
the interview and what you had today, and when you handled the interview, I'm going to deny your request.
All right, Mr. Stoops, you've been through this process before many times, you know how it works. You received 2 favorable votes, 2 that were to deny your application. I'll say this, for me, although you know what the outcome is, if it takes 4 votes. You understand that? My vote, as Mr. Marabella said, I listened very carefully to the interview. I don't think you did a really good job, but I listened more intently to the things that weren't good one had to say. And he spoke for you stronger than probably I've heard him speak for anyone. He says you're a model prisoner, a good citizen within your community. My vote today, although it doesn't matter, based on Marty Goodwin's remarks, my vote would be to commute your sentence to 99 years with immediate parole eligibility. However, since you did not receive the required 4 favorable votes, your application for clemency has been denied today, sir.